Access Hampton and Harris with Bobbi Roquemore, where the world of sports meets the mic and the hammer of the law.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first show of the new year of Hampton and Harris. I'm Rickey Hampton. That is not my brother J.D. Harris on the screen on my right. That's a great sports writer out of Toledo, Ohio, Don Edmonds. Our great friend Bobbi Roquemore. Hopefully she will check in with us later. And we will be joined by J.D. Harris later. And Don, man, first and foremost, brother, it is good to have you here. And I want to welcome all our viewers in from Sports Fluent. We got a great show tonight. We're going to dig into some NFL stuff, the coaching situations. There's only 8 jobs now after John Harbaugh was hired in New York today. They jumped right on him. And we're going to discuss Mike Tomlin finally leaving Pittsburgh after 19 years. And, of course, J.D. has the book that he wrote on Mike Tomlin, Soul of a Coach. So we'll try to save some of that for when J.D. gets in. But, brother, it is good to see you, longtime sports writer. And you have seen the business change like I have. Introduce yourself to our viewers around the country.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, good seeing you, Rickey. Good. It's been a long time. We spent many a days at sporting events in the Detroit, Michigan area. But it's been a long time since those things have happened. But what can I say? Right now I'm basking in, being an IU grad, I'm basking in something that most people never thought of, is like IU is actually going to be playing for a national championship in football, not in basketball.
Wow.
So, that's how much time have changed. I've worked as a sports writer, sports journalist in the business for really, it's kind of scary to mention it, but close to 40 years. That's the truth. But the last few years I've been kind of working on my own projects, like many of us that have, kind of gotten up to that amount of experience. And so I got a couple of things that I'm working on that I'm looking to at least have completed it within the next year.
Yeah, fantastic. We did share. Hey, we got to see some great basketball with those Piston teams.
Yes.
In the 2000s, we got to see some bad football with some of those Lions teams.
Right.
They seem to have turned things around there. But I do want to go back to what you mentioned about Indiana University playing for a national championship in football. And I was on a show today, Don, and I was thinking that what we see happening in Bloomington is, number one, some great coaching by Singeti and that coaching staff to coach those guys up. But I think we are seeing the impact of the NIL dollars being spent in football programs around the country, athletic programs around the country. For example, my hometown, Nashville, Tennessee, Vanderbilt University had a top 10 football program.
No doubt.
They got a top 10 basketball program. They lost last night. And the women are nationally ranked. They've always had great baseball there. And Vandy's had some good basketball teams. But clearly, their rise in football is because of the money the university, which it always had, has decided to pour into its athletic programs. And I want to see what you think about this. My thoughts were, because schools like Vandy and now IU in football are employing resources to football programs. Alabama, the third string quarterback is not a 5-star anymore.
Right.
The third string running back's not a 5-star.
Right.
They have depleted, they have dispersed the talent
Yes.
around the country. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, no doubt about it. Again, when all of this happened, we talk about 2018, 2019, when the courts ruled that, hey, the O'Bannon rule, and then also the changes in terms of transfer portal. Again, I think they go hand in hand. One without the other, we probably don't have what we have today. But with the NIL and the transfer portal, that opened it up. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, that's the end of sports," and as far as we talk about collegiately. But I kept telling people, I said, "No, it's actually going to make it better because now you have the guys that's sitting on the bench." That's a 5-star in Alabama, that he's going to go ahead and guess what? He's going to get an offer from a Vanderbilt and say, hey, we can pay you the same amount. And guess what you got to do? You don't have to sit on the bench for 2 years. You can play right immediately.
Yeah.
So it's called parity. But, you know, you kept seeing and hearing from so many people talking about how, oh, that's going to ruin the game. No, the ratings are as good as they've ever been. And now instead of starting season thinking that it's only about 4 teams that has a chance to win the national title. No, you have teams and schools and universities and student bodies thinking like we got a chance because now not only that, Rick, but we're also talking about the expansion of the playoffs. You know, I again, me being an Indiana grad, when there was only 4 teams that was going to make it to the final, to the 4 picks, you know, let's be honest. Indiana wasn't thinking about winning any football championships, but now it's open, and that's greatness for all 130 plus teams. That's considered a chance to have a chance to win a national championship in football.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and Don, I mean, what they've been able to do in the last 2023, I believe they had one of the worst seasons in recent memory, right? And then I was it 2022, maybe 2022.
Okay, so me being at IU again, I showed up in IU in Bloomington in 1979 as a freshman. Now I'll be honest with you, Sam Weiss was the coach then. And so at that time, Indiana football was still bad, but Sam Weiss, that was his first year there and his only year there because Cincinnati said, hey, we see something in you. So we're going to pull you away from Bloomington and pull you down to Cincinnati. But even then, though, you could, again, someone like me, you could possibly walk on at IU and maybe you might be on the kickoff team. So I showed up and again, me and some of my classmates, you know, we went over to Memorial Stadium and got the itinerary of what you needed to do to be a walk-on. Now, once I saw it, I'll be honest, Rick, I was like, man, you're asking me to do more than what the people that's on scholarship to do. I got to pay for my own way. That's out. Let me go to the J school and just figure out how I'm going to cover this team. And so bottom line was, it was bad then. And I heard someone earlier today talking about their time at IU over there 4 years. So what I did, I went and looked back from 79 to 83, and because I thought it was a better time than I imagined. But Indiana finished during that time. The first year was with Sam Weiss, but the next following years was with Bill Mallory. But the record while I was there was 13-37. It was horrible. You know, so, you know, I was 13-37. However, that period from the time I graduated to maybe the next 3 or 4 years after that, they actually did good. They beat Michigan and they beat Ohio State, you know, like 87 and 88. And Mallory had turned it around. I think their best record at that time was like 8-5. But
now, and I was just gonna add, hey, and so what if y'all got beaten football? Because you know you're gonna come back and whoop everybody's ass when basketball season started anyway.
Oh, see, you're right, because here it is. My senior year, my graduation year, hey, it was 1987. That was the Keith Smart jump shot at the buzzer that basically gave us a chance. We beat Syracuse. So my memories were fond. I mean, we're not talking about football, but at that time we were a basketball school,
right?
But even in that period, I always enjoyed the football and always hoped that the football team would get to that level where we can be mentioned amongst, on a regular basis, top 25, not necessarily winning a championship, but top 25. And, to have a winning record and go to a bowl, that was celebration enough for an IU fan when it came to football.
Yeah, and that's great perspective from somebody who was there, walking around Bloomington and seeing it grow to what we have today. They are a physical team. They execute. That they're well coached. I mean, they went out and just demolished their opponents on the way to the championship game. And we're gonna get to Miami, and we'll talk about the Hurricanes' rise back to prominence.
Right.
But because of your connection with Indiana, I mean, nobody's shocked that Miami is back there. It's been a minute, but we've seen this. We had not seen this from IU football. When did you think that they had a chance to put themselves in this position?
Okay, so here it is. Again, I've been as loyal as a football fan for IU as probably anyone, even during the rough times. But we always would have little moments of joy. Terry Hepner, before he got sick, it was looking like at the beginning of the turn of the century that IU football was going to be pretty decent. Bottom line is, I always tell people, because I hear so many people like IU football was horrible. Not when I was, put it like this.
Yeah.
We weren't the worst team, Rick, when I showed up, because there was a team over in Evanston, Illinois called Northwestern. At that time, they held that honor and so they were so bad that guess what they did? They went out and they said, hey, let's hire this black guy named Denny Green.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was the first black head coach in football in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And he actually recruited one of my high school teammates, and he was one of his first recruits. And we know, Denny Green, rest in peace. He actually proved that he was a really good coach.
Excellent.
But at that time, it was like Northwestern was like, we don't have. Let's give the black guy a chance. I mean, that's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
So we were not.
What else we got to lose?
What else we got to lose?
we playing everybody for homecoming.
Exactly. So at that time, we really weren't Indiana was not the worst team in all of college football. It was Northwestern. Now, since then, hey, we done fell off the ship. And, and so watching what's happened, Tom Allen had his moments. COVID came in, but Tom Allen lost some of his key assistant coaches, mainly, what's the name, DeBoer, who ended up leaving, and now he's the Alabama coach. So there was potential. However, the university, because it's never really put money into football, let basically all of Tom Allen's best assistants go. When they went out and got Signetti, something changed. He said, hey, I can make it happen, but you've got to be committed with me. That means you got to spend some money. And as we know, you spend money, if you get the right people, you're going to find success. And that's really what it was. Indiana has never spent money on football until Coach Signetti.
Right.
And that's where it is.
Right. And back to my original premise about the money being spent on these programs now, and there are a lot of demands on these coaches to win now, and it's a lot more pressure on college athletes today because they are getting paid, and because of the transfer portal. It's a totally different business. I mean, it's a totally different entity than when we were in the prime of our sports writing careers in the 80s and 90s, covering events. I'm sure you heard about the porn shaving scandal that came down today. With I think it's 20, 30,
25 different,
I mean, the list continues to grow. because everybody wants that money. It and it and look, I get that, but it seems like we got to find some way to try to regulate it. And these people invited to sporting entities into the business. You got in bed with them, not necessarily in college level, but in pro football, that's coming with it because it's always been a part of
Right.
gambling's always been a part of sports, and scandal's always all the way back to the Black Sox, right?
Exactly. So here's the way I look at that, Ricky. It's like this. The bottom line is there's always going to be some cheating. I mean, Coach O, he spilled the beans on LSU. He said, hey, back in the day, the players used to come through the back door, but now you can come through the front door and get paid. So let's be honest with it. The reality is it's always been that. The difference, I look at it like this. If you go through a red light through an intersection and no one pulls you over, then you good. Yeah. But now if you get caught betting, then you in trouble because if you got sports betting as a legal entity, guess what? Some people are going to try to buck the rules and they're going to get caught. Like these people allegedly have been caught, these former student athletes. And that's just part of it. I mean, because you're not going to, the cat's out of the bag. You're not getting into sports betting. I'm still waiting for the state of California and the state of Texas to basically join in, and they haven't. But once those two states join in on sports betting, then it is on and really popping.
Yeah, and we had it in baseball.
Yes,
last year, the Cleveland, the outstanding Guardians reliever,
yes.
throwing balls to help win parlays allegedly. I mean, I don't know how they're going to be able to regulate that. Maybe eliminate parlays.
You're not.
I don't know. Because it's just too much money.
It's like this. You again, like people that commit crimes. We got the eye in the sky everywhere. Eventually, you're going to get caught. Now so that's not going to deter. It may deter some, but some people they're always going to figure out like, how can I get through with this? But he got caught. And trust me, the sports betting business knows their stuff. And they don't know if that bet doesn't seem right. They knows that like that's a lot of money put on this. Like these people got to wake up. They know when something is not trending right, and they're going to investigate it, and you're going to get busted.
Yeah. Especially some college kids, man. That you're right. That is sophisticated billion-dollar business,
yes,
billion-dollar industry. So you got to be careful where you tread there. But let's talk about the game coming up Monday. Man, Miami has been impressive. The way they've been very physical too. The way they could run the football on people doing this run, and I like IU in this game. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so as I told people even before the season started, and I got some buddies who actually played at Michigan. I got some buddies that definitely Buckeye fans. And I told them, I said, hey, Indiana is the best coach team in the Big Ten. I used to say that even last year, but I've changed it now to, no, Indiana is the best coach team in all of college football. And like, how could you say that? I said, because they do more with less. They don't have 5 stars. They've never had 5 stars. And you see how they perform. It is so crisp. It is so clean. They're like, how do you do that unless you have great coaching? And that's what they have. So when it comes down to it, again, each step of the way, I feel like every time they stepped on the field, they were at least double digits better than the team that they played. And I'm not changing that. Now, I'm going to limb and say it's going to be a blowout, but by giving me a little leeway and saying it's double digits, it's 10 points or more. And again, they have all of the coaching. Like one of the leftovers from Time Allen was Bob Bostad, who used to be an offensive line coach for Wisconsin. That's the only person that Cignetti kept over from the other team. and their offensive line, as Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner. Think about it. IU has a Heisman Trophy winner. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about?
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
I mean, he calls them the Hoggies. He calls them the Hoggies, and so they block, but that's what Bob Bostad has always done. And so, I mean, I know we heard about them physical, the Michigan, I mean, the Miami's defensive line being physical, and they are good. Bain is outstanding, but this
Yeah,
line
he'll go high in the draft.
oh, no doubt. In my opinion, top 7, if
Yeah.
not top 5. But that offensive line, they're so crisp and so unified that they'll figure out how to basically eliminate him from being a really big factor, in my opinion, because they've done it every step, all first 15 games. So why would I think anything otherwise than they're going to take care of business? And the bottom line is, anytime IU can run the football with Hemby and with Kalen Black, then the game's over. The game could be over. Like most of their games this year, they've been over by halftime. The game could be over by halftime.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. Alabama, 38-3. They beat Alabama, 38-3. Okay. Alabama, one of the blue bloods of everybody knows Alabama football. The next week, they beat Oregon 56-22, and it wasn't even that close.
It wasn't.
It wasn't even that close.
And Fernando Mendoza in 2 playoff games, he's thrown more touchdowns than completions. What are we talking about? Like I said, this is one of the, again, I'm not saying it's one of the greatest teams of all time, but it's been one of the greatest seasons of all time. Because, I mean, if they, again, you got to finish it. That's the whole point. You got to finish it.
Yep.
But if they finish it, they'll go 16-0.
Yeah. And shout out to Miami. They got in. They beat Texas A&M 10-3 in the first round. A lot of people, especially our friends in South Bend, were pissed that they got in anyway. But it turns out they were the right team because they're in the championship game. They beat Miami. I mean, Miami beat Texas A&M 10-3.
Right.
Then they beat Ohio State 24-14. And in a really good game against Miami, against Ole Miss 31-27. So they've been in some more competitive contests than the Hoosiers, who've just been steamrolling guys.
Right. And that's one of those things, Ricky, where I look at it is teams that come up against Indiana, they basically like, we ain't impressed because they're looking at the helmets. They're not looking at what's in the heart. And so they get out there and then all of a sudden, when they go hut and then they get hit, they're like, whoa, this ain't the Indiana team from my father. No, these folks actually playing hard and they're hitting and they actually believe that they can win. And before you know it, you're like, dang, we down by 14. And so that's how it works. I mean, this team is not to be taken for granted. And again, Miami's shown that they belong. In my opinion, the people who, the committee who basically selected the 12 teams, I think overall I thought they did a great job. Notre Dame is crying, but Notre Dame, take care of your business and you won't be in this position. They didn't take care of the business two nights.
And you know what? It's just the world we live in. Think about it. They picked 64 basketball teams for the tournament, and people complaining because they didn't pick the 65th.
Exactly. You never get exactly.
So you always gonna have some complaining to do. I think we have our friend John Harris here, my co-host JD. Are you there?
I'm here. I've been having some issues with my video. I don't know why I'm not able to pop in here. I'm in, but I'm
okay. And we can. I think you're coming, and we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got that part. I've got the audio, but I'm having some issue with my camera. I don't know what the problem is. I've had a couple things today and I wasn't able to do it. I don't know what,
Hey,
I don't know why I'm not showing up here.
well, no problem, man. We love looking at your pretty face, man, but we want to hear
Yeah.
some of that knowledge you espousing also.
Well, I hear Don breaking it down with the Indiana Miami Miami matchup.
Mostly it's fandom, bro. I gotta understand. This is fandom because we're 4 quarters away from doing something that no other program has ever done.
That's right.
And definitely,
Yeah.
again, I tell my Buckeye fans, my friends, and my Wolverine friends all the time. I said, Indiana's record should have never been as bad as it's been, but we've been stuck before they basically eliminated the divisions in the Big Ten. We were always stuck over there in the East. Well, I would have preferred we've been over in the West. But every year we got to play Michigan, we got to play Ohio State, and we had to play Penn State, and that all of those losses added up. Had we been stuck on the West side, we might have had a better record, looking like Purdue or somebody. But that wasn't the case. So I think our record, and that's my fandom speaking, I think our record has been kind of skewed.
Man, you made some strong points about IU, and they backed it up. JD, they beat, as I mentioned earlier, they beat Alabama 38-3.
Right. Oh, they destroyed them. They destroyed them.
And it wasn't even that close. They beat Oregon 56-22, and it wasn't even that close. Those are two blue bloods, man, that they literally blew out of the water. But JD, I'm sorry the camera's not working, but I just was so excited for the show tonight because, of course, the big news of the week to me, of course, we got the 4 semifinal games in the conferences, but my thing is the 9 openings that are, well, now 8 with John Harbaugh going to New York, but the end of an era in Pittsburgh with one of the great coaches in the game, in my mind, a Hall of Fame coach for sure, is Mike Tomlin. And of course, you wrote the defining book on Tomlin, The Soul of a Football Coach. I've been wanting to hear all week your thoughts on what went down in Pittsburgh last week.
I mean, yeah, I was surprised. I figured he would at least be back for another year, to be honest with you. But I think after the result against Houston, which was much like the result last year against Baltimore in the playoffs, really a game where it became evident early. Well, not really early because it was 7-6 in the fourth quarter, but that there was really a big difference in the two teams. And I think with the way the roster is constituted, I don't think it was going to change a whole lot next year. In fact, I think they'd already talked about bringing back Aaron Rodgers. And I think another 9-8 or 10-7 season with maybe a playoff appearance and a first round loss, the fan base has spoken very loudly. And they started up the chant again after the game the other night, prior to Tomlin, like they did against after the Buffalo game. And I think after 19 years, to be honest with you, I think it just I think everybody has a breaking point, and I think he just had enough in that regard. Even though I wouldn't be leaving $30-40 million on the table, you're gonna pay me all that money, so just fire me. So but other than that, I just think that I think he realized deep down that he had taken this team as far as it could really go, to be honest with you. And maybe a new voice was needed. Maybe he needed to recharge his batteries after 19 years on the job with the same team. Mm-hmm. The negative, the media and fan base, I can't describe really how negative it has been. I mean, and I wrote in the book when I covered him when he got hired, it was like that. He was not the choice. That's not who the fans wanted. They wanted Russ Grimm or Ken Wisenhunt, who were coaches on the staff. Nobody knew who he was. He was 34 years old. He was black. And I tell people a lot of times, I've worked and lived in a lot of cities in this country. And I find Pittsburgh to be one of the most difficult for people to look like me anywhere, to be honest. I've worked in the Deep South. I've worked at a lot of places. And for him to be there for 19 years, I mean, probably drank a lot of Pepto-Bismol. Just seriously, I mean, it's every day, from the day you get there to the day you leave, you were never really loved. And I saw some posts. I'm not going to mention people's names. That the reason that he was, the Steelers have an obligation to hire another black coach because, you know, they forced him out. And I'm like, wait a minute, the dude was there 19 years.
Exactly.
And as Art Rooney II said, they were fully prepared to go another year with him there. So, and as Tomlin told his players afterwards, you know, this is what I chose to do. They weren't forcing me out. So people, you know, I know clickbait clicks are really important nowadays on social media, but people need to really stop with some of that stuff. And if you're going to pick and look, obviously we know that race is an issue in life, in this country and in sports and everywhere else. But that's the one team that you really can't point a finger at.
Right.
I mean, their general manager is of Indian and Honduran descent. So you had a black head coach. You had a general manager who was not from here. And, I mean, you know, you had there's a Hall of Fame award.
Bill Nunn.
And what the Steelers did then. And I mean, I just think that was the wrong team to look to. And I don't think people really thought it was a problem. I mean, not in Pittsburgh and definitely not with the Steelers.
Right.
JD, you probably can't see it, but I have a picture of
I see book. I do see it.
Tomlin, the soul of a football coach, and you have a new edition. Damn, man, you have to write a second new edition. You have to update this bad boy again.
This year, this week has been very positive as far as sales. That's really, and it's really a reflection of society. When something quote unquote negative happens, people jump to it, and people are intrigued by Mike Tomlin. They want to know his story now.
Yeah.
And he's in the news and the whole thing. But yeah, it's I'm glad I wrote it 2 years ago. I'm glad I updated it because there's some things in there that weren't in the first book. And one of them is the way I ended the book. I basically predicted this. I looked at the way they had spent a lot of money on defense, but they were having trouble in the playoffs defensively, giving up big points in the last 7 playoff losses, 30 points plus. And I talked about bringing in a 42-year-old quarterback and the gamble that was being told. And at the end of the day, and the Steelers fans were at their wits' end with not having a playoff win in 10 years. And I was like, who was going to be the fall guy? And I basically wrote this. It was going to be him. And I think that's what happened. I just think that, as Art Rooney said yesterday at his press conference, they expect to be competitive every year. So whoever comes in and takes over, they're not going to blow this team up. You know what I mean? They don't plan to go 3-14 next year or 6-10. Right. Now they may end up that way, but they're going to still approach it as though they're in the mix. I mean, Mike Tomlin said before the season started, he had a potentially historically great defense, and that Aaron Rodgers was going to take them to a level that they needed in the postseason. And it didn't happen. So when all those things happen and your fan base is booing you at your home games, and, you know, you win a Super Bowl, you go 19 years, you never have a losing season, and none of it is good enough.
Right.
I think enough for him, enough was enough.
But history will be good to him.
Oh yeah.
And he'll be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame one day for sure. With that level of consistency And not only that, the leadership he demonstrated. uh, Almost anybody that's played for him just uh, speaks so highly of him. So, and he, like as I said, he's going to be remembered well. But JD, do you think he's done?
No, no, no. I think he'll take a year or two, the way Sean Payton did. Now, I don't see him as a TV guy, though. To be honest with you, I don't see him in a booth doing broadcasting the Buccaneers and Commanders game. I don't see
Right.
that. Possibly studio. His brother, who I quoted in the book, he calls him a gym teacher. He's a coach. That's what he is at heart. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see him as we approach the Super Bowl. Maybe Super Bowl week. Maybe have him on one of the networks, probably Fox, because he has this relationship with Jay Glazer, and possibly have him there. I can see him doing things like that, but I just think he has too many things. He's only 53. He has, John Harbaugh, who just got hired by the Giants, is 10 years older.
Wow.
So he's got, he literally had another 10 or 15 years or even more to coach if he wants. And I think he wants to pick the right situation. Right. The key being a team that has a quarterback. I think that's very, very important to him.
We've talked, and Don, I'll get you in. I just want to throw this in right quick. I talked, JD, I've asked you about this before. If college football wasn't the thing it is today with the transfers and all of that, would he ever consider coaching on the I know he won't now, but back in the old days? Because I always thought he'd be just a hell of a college coach as well.
Well, remember a few years ago, it was brought up to him. I think Carson Palmer was talking about USC, and he was asked that at a press, and he blew up. He was offended by it. He threw Andy Reid's name in there and Sean Payton, and he said, the booster can't write a big enough check for me, to go to college. And he said, you're not asking these. You said you didn't ask Andy Reid this. You're not asking Sean Payton this. Why are you asking me if I want to coach college football? He took it as a slight.
Okay. And you know what? That's funny because I take it, coming from me, I consider it a compliment because of his tremendous leadership abilities. But I get that.
He'd have to have a great recruiting staff and coaching staff. I just couldn't see.
Oh, he wouldn't do it today at all.
Yeah, I couldn't see him doing that now, especially now with the NIL.
Yeah. John, I wanted to get you in here with John.
Mm-hmm. So JD, again, it's no truth to the idea that Tomlin said, I'm stepping down because the Post-Gazette said they're closing their doors, right?
No, he's outlived it. He outlived. I thought he was going to outlive him. I thought he was going to outlive the Post-Gazette.
I was just wondering. I was like, dang, that's too coincidental. Like, what are we doing?
No, I don't think that had anything to do with it. Knowing him, he may have gotten a chuckle out of it though, because he's had many a battle with the media brethren in Pittsburgh.
How did that get to be so adversarial?
Because it was like that from day one.
Because they were winning the whole time.
Yeah, but you got to remember there were so many dynamics. Bill Cowher steps down. They thought one of his two assistants were going to get the job. Russ Grimm, Ken Wisenhunt. They loved, Russ Grimm was the kind of guy they could go drink a beer with. They knew him.
Yeah,
he would have probably talked his head off. And instead, they bring in this guy that nobody knows who he is. He's 34.
Right.
He doesn't look like anybody in there, any coach they've ever had before.
Right.
And he just has this persona about him that he's not going to take anything from anybody. He's going to be polite in how he does it, but he's going to be a no-nonsense guy. He's going to talk a lot of big, highfalutin words sometimes. Mm-hmm. He's going to look down on you sometimes and show you how smart he is. So there's a lot of things about him that people took the wrong way. And you got to remember that the majority of this media base in Pittsburgh, they're used to dealing with players that look like Mike Tomlin players.
Right.
not coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now people want to deny it. I worked there. I was there. I was in the press rooms during those times. Now, a lot of people denied it, but you're talking from a psychological aspect, a lot of different ways to look at this, the interaction. And it was always professionally cordial. But there was also on the part of the media, a lot of times, some of the questions that were asked, and he would respond in kind. I remember one time, I think it was after they lost to Buffalo in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and one of the reporters was trying to ask him about his contract situation, and he just walked. He heard where the question was going. He just walked right off.
I saw that.
He just walked right off the podium, and that was his way to respond to things like that. So he was no fool as far as that was concerned, and what he was dealing with. And when he won the Super Bowl, he won it with Bill Cowher's players. That's what everybody said.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he won it Bill Cowher's players. And when the things haven't been going as well, he's not a good coach. So it's catch-22. You can't win, right?
Right.
I never had a losing season.
My thing with that, why didn't Bill win with him before he left?
Yeah, well, they made up a lot of excuses. Ben got hurt that year. He was in a car accident, blah, 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 blah. They were 8-8 2 years later. The next year they win 10. In his first year, the year after that, they win a Super Bowl. I don't know if they would have won another Super Bowl under Cal. I think, he made changes. He brought it. Joey Porter left and James Harrison. Nobody knew who James Harrison was, and he took over. And the defense in 2008 was one of the best all time in NFL history, the year they won the Super Bowl. That was Mike Tomlin. His influence.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the other 8 jobs that are out there now? I guess the worst job would be out in Arizona, because it looks like they're going to move on from Kyler Murray. And
you think so?
Well, they sent him home this year.
Yeah.
They sent him home, and I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the worst. The Raiders is probably the second worst.
Oh, the Raiders.
And I mean, again, I'm a Raider fan, but I mean that's a bad situation, and unfortunately, I think Fernando is going to be there with the first pick in the draft. But yeah, those are organizations. I mean, I'm sad to say it, but yeah, you really don't want to go there. But hey, it's part of the NFL, unless you change management. But the management isn't changing. They're not doing anything different.
No.
You know what, brothers? What I'm always interested to see. You had 9 jobs, one's gone, 8 left. I want to see how many men of color are going to fill some of these positions. Brian Flores, the outstanding defensive coordinator with the Vikings, who was the coach of the Dolphins, and ended up having to file a lawsuit because they wanted him to try to lose games, allegedly. I want to see if somebody's going to take a chance on him.
Well, I think he'd be the perfect choice for the Steelers. Remember, he was there for a year. Tomlin brought him in in a year. He was the assistant coach there for a year, and he's on the list. The Steelers already have a list of people they're going to interview. Brian Flores is on it. Weaver from Miami, I believe, the defensive coordinator is on it, and there's a young black assistant with the Rams, passing game coordinator who's on it. So maybe the folks who are saying the Steelers have an obligation, they already have 3 black candidates on their list of people they're going to interview, which I find to be interesting.
Well, I don't see the Steelers hiring anyone that looked like Mike Tomlin. It's like 2 decades of Mike Tomlin. The last thing they want is someone else to come in and look like Mike Tomlin. So it ain't happening. And
ain't happening. Okay, you heard it here. You heard it here first, right here.
And the reality is, out of those other 8 positions, I would be surprised if, honestly, I'm going to give McDonald, he might get another shot somewhere. But other than that, I really don't see any other black head coaches being named.
Well, I'll tell you a name that I've heard, Leslie Frazier. He's kind of been forgotten.
Wow, yeah.
He's the assistant head coach in Seattle. Nobody knows that.
Wow.
He's been there. Yeah. Now, well, say they go to the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden we're going to hear Leslie Frazier's name again. He was at Buffalo. He left Buffalo, and he's been in Seattle.
He was an interim somewhere, wasn't he? At one point,
Minnesota. He was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye on Leslie Frazier, and of course, what's the Denver Broncos coordinator? He's supposedly guaranteed a job. But, Vance Joseph.
Vance Joseph. Yeah, his name has been mentioned. Yeah, I've seen that. But you bringing up Leslie Frazier, you're gonna make Jim Caldwell get up off his couch and say, "Hey, wait a minute,
get on up, get on up." Well, he's in Carolina doing a great job with the quarterback.
He is.
I mean, still people. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing. Now, when that person talked about race and the Steelers, see, those are to me from a racial aspect. I'm looking more at fan reaction, how they react, and the media, how they cover it. Why aren't we hearing about the job Jim Caldwell's done with this quarterback who a year or so ago people were saying he was washed up, right? He was done. He was a bust. And now
led him to the playoffs.
But he's working with him, right? And in Seattle, Leslie Frazier, a guy that was forgotten. Those are the stories that the media needs to do more of, that they don't do enough of. I have major issues with stuff like that, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, we just got a few more minutes here. I do want to, your thoughts on this weekend's game, and I just want to get a quick hit on the NBA before we get out of here. Your thoughts, who do you guys like this weekend in the NFL?
Go ahead, Don.
I like Seattle. I like Seattle making it to the NFC divisional championship, NFC championship. Outside of that, I'll be honest with you, I've been engrossed in watching college football and watching what Indiana's doing. So.
We totally understand, brother. We totally understand. I like Seattle, man. You go out there, that's a tough place to play. It is extremely loud, and it's a long trip out there too. Goodness gracious! I like the Bears over. I like the Rams over the Bears. Stafford is used to playing in that kind of weather, being from Detroit. Josh Allen, man, this is his time to seize the moment. His nemesis is not there. He's been this great quarterback all these years, hadn't been able to get his team to a Super Bowl. This is Buffalo's chance with Kansas City out of there. And I'm going to be pulling for this brother in Houston.
Yes.
They have done an outstanding job. But New England is, wow, what a turnaround. They won 3 games last year, and they lost 3 games this year.
Right. Well, again, when it comes to those Bear fans, they're going crazy, but I think they may be a year or two away. I do like Houston's defense, but I'm not a Houston Texans fan being a Colts fan. Drake May, again, that's who I wanted because I like to consider myself a quarterback guru. And John knows I said Drake May was going to be really good, and he's doing it. And the last thing I want to do is see is a New England Patriots quarterback get good again. And so, but he's the real deal. But this is really it for Josh Allen because there's no excuse. The road is open. He's on down the road. The Wizard of Oz, it's open. Go because you don't have Lamar Jackson, you don't have Mahomes, and so what stop you? Last thing you want to do is lose to Drake May. Come on,
right. First time around. Hey, JD, let's get to our Tendex update this week. I'm on the road, so I didn't get a chance to create our little file for it. But I love looking at these Eastern Conference ratings because the Detroit Pistons are sitting on top with a 107.4 ranking. And JD, that's with Tobias Harris, Kay Cunningham, and Jalen Duren missing. Well, Tobias has been out for about a month, and Cade and Jalen doing almost 2 weeks, and they were still able to go 7-3 during that time.
I think that Detroit has been steady all year. I'm finding that around this time of year, teams have been dropping off. Detroit has been steady. The Knicks have fallen off. Boston is getting better. In the West, OKC has fallen off. But I see this week they blew out their nemesis, San Antonio, and they're blowing out Houston tonight. So maybe they're back on track. Minnesota, I think, is an underrated team. They're very steady, and they're slowly climbing. As I'll tell you, the Lakers remain out of my 8 top teams in the West. They're number 8, and dropping with a bullet. So they are what they are. They are what they are.
You say OKC is falling. They're still 5 points ahead of everybody in the race.
But they've fallen 4 points. I mean, which is a lot, but it happens. It's the NBA, and
it's a long season.
I think maybe they had a lot of injuries, but I think that was good for them to kind of get punched in the jaw and have to respond to it. And so far they're still the best team in the NBA right now. And I don't know. I think OKC Detroit final looks pretty interesting.
You really think Detroit can get out of the East? I mean, I would love to see that.
Yeah. I don't see. There's no dominant. I mean, unless Philly, Embiid just has this, I don't know, transformation, is able to stay out on the court for more than 4 or 5 games in a row and just plays at an MVP level. But other than that, no, I think they're bounced down.
Count out Cleveland.
Well, they're rising. Now, we'll say this: they are improving. They've risen quite a bit in the last few weeks. So I don't know if that's injuries or just playing better with chemistry or what have you. But they have been playing better. So I'd keep my eye on them. I'd keep my eye on Cleveland. Yeah.
The Clippers have played better, but the West is so loaded, man. Even if you're playing well, it's so hard to move over there. So many good teams.
Remember, Rick, we talked about with San Antonio beating OKC 3 times in a row, and one of the things that we talked about was that they were treating that as though they had won the finals.
Right.
And it's a long season, and they've had some bad losses since that to some teams they had no business losing to. So it is a roller coaster ride, and for them, some lessons that they're still going to have to learn. They're a very young team.
Yeah. Don, any questions before JD? I'll let you wrap it up since we're going to have to get out of here. And we got to get you back, man, so we can have you and JD for the full hour.
Hey,
well, you can have him come back next week and talk about his Hoosiers, winning the whole thing.
Well, as long as my Hoosiers come out okay. I'm more than happy to celebrate. But no. I mean, hey, again, you two guys are more than happy to talk with you all about sports. But again, my prediction on that game, I'll give you my prediction. Honestly, 38-14 Indiana.
Woo!
Yeah.
Hey, if that happens, I'm worried about Michael Irvin. If that happens, that score like that, I'm really concerned about that brother.
You ain't worried about your other book personality, Edrin?
Edge, he'll just take it. Edge take it with a grain of salt, man. Nothing bothers Edge, man.
Oh, okay.
He want to see him win, but that's the way it goes sometimes, dog. But he's as passionate about the Hurricanes as Mike is. I guess he just has a different way of showing it.
Yeah. JD, I know this has been a busy week with you. I'm sure you got a lot of calls regarding Coach Tomlin. And I salute the brother. Job well done, man. In that league, and hey, to win one game, the energy it goes into winning one game in 1 week, and he was able to do that consistently for 19 years and win a Super Bowl title.
I mean, you're never going to see that again. You're never going to see that. You'll never see that again with a team, with a coach.
He's a Hall of Fame coach, Jay.
Hey, Bill Cowher's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame, okay?
Absolutely. And pick the book up, everybody. Tomlin, The Soul of a Football Coach by J.D. Harris, and you can get it just about anywhere. We got to get out of here, gentlemen. Don, it was so good catching up with you, brother. Let's do this again real soon.
Yep.
For John
Appreciate
Harris,
you, Don.
for Don
Thanks for the
Evans,
invite.
I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody. See you next time.
Peace out.
Right.
Chai.